Good morning. Welcome back to the Retirement Report. I'm Hank Parrott, your host. All right, we've been talking about income-generating strategies, how to take income from a portfolio. So, I've been talking about how to construct that portfolio the last few weeks, how to invest, how the smart money invests. In my book, 7 Steps to Financial Freedom in Retirement, Chapter 5 is about how the smart money invests in the market. And it gets into this, basically what we refer to as modern portfolio theory. Maybe you've heard of this, right? Maybe your current advisor has talked to you about the importance of asset allocation, of diversification when it comes to investing, and about modern portfolio theory, which has to do with how to construct a portfolio to minimize risk while still seeking that market return. So in with that thing comes this income piece. How do we start taking income? So when you're saving for retirement, one example, and I used how to construct a portfolio last week. Remember we talked about how you could take that S&P 500 index, which as I mentioned outperforms 90% of mutual funds. You could just invest in an S&P 500 index, especially if you're younger, right at volatility, and probably do better than most anything else out there. This, in fact, Warren Buffett, we've talked about, the bet that he made with his active managers, in which they were going to use their strategies supposedly to beat the market. He just picked an S&P 500 index fund and he beat them hands down. This was over a 10-year period, $1 million bet with the money going to charity. And he wanted, in fact, he was so far ahead, I think a couple of years out even, they had no chance of catching up. This is the S&P 500. The problem is it's a lot of volatility, so to utilize that in retirement is not practical and could set you up for potential problems, as we saw in 2000 through 2009, when you could be in the market for 10 years, right, have a negative result in your returns. That's because the S&P was negative over that 10-year period. And then what else happened? If you're taking income from it, you were taking $40,000 a year from a portfolio, as we were using in that prior example, over 10 years you would have you'd basically taken it down by $400,000 plus the losses. So that wouldn't have been a very good plan, right? So we have to, when it comes to investing in retirement, it is going to be different. We have to have these hedging strategies, these ways to manage risk and volatility, so that kind of thing doesn't hurt us. All right? And one of the income strategies I was just sharing before the break was that of systematic withdrawal. And as I said, it's an easy and simple one, and it's what a lot you may be using it yourself. I know a lot of people do. They're basically just saying, hey, I'm going to invest this way, however aggressively that might be, and I'm just going to take the income I need. And if the market's down, maybe they say, you know what, I'm a little nervous, the market's down, I'm going to just stop taking as much income. Is that a good plan, to have to change our lifestyle, right? Not be able to enjoy our retirement years because of market downturn, rather than have a plan in place that keeps our income right where it needs to be to maintain our standard of living and quality of life, to still be able to do all the fun things we want to do. Wouldn't that be a better plan? So that's, again, that's one of the weaknesses of systematic withdrawal, and the potential reality of having to reduce your lifestyle, or having to go back to work, or doing some other drastic things because of a down market. How about we just plan? We know they're going to occur. We know we're going to have bear markets. We know we're going to have negative years. So let's just plan for that. Let's just say I'm going to take 3 years worth of income. I'm going to have my portfolio set up to where I'm going to manage risk so I don't have to worry. See, an example, when I talked about from 2000 through 2009 how the S&P was down that period, well, the model portfolios, let's say you were in a 50-50 portfolio, 50% in stocks and 50% in bonds. And again, the asset allocation models that I shared with you last week, let's say you were utilizing that. Now, what are we seeing? Okay, what we saw in that same 10-year period is those portfolios made money. They weren't negative. Why? Because they were more diversified than just the large cap blended S&P 500 index. They had small caps. They had other asset categories covered in there. okay, and of course bonds. And all of that together allowed them during that same period to actually end up with a positive result. I think over the 10-year period, that moderate portfolio, 50-50 stocks and bonds, averaged, I think it was a little over 5.5, something like that, over that 10-year period. So imagine, instead of a negative, you made 5% a year. Would that have helped you as far as your income needs? Sure, right? Now here's the other part. In the worst period in that, it was at a break even for basically about the first 3 years of that 10-year cycle, the bear market of 2000 through 2002. So at that 3-year cycle, when the market was down basically 46%. So imagine if you had $1 million invested in an S&P 500 index fund, you would have lost about $460,000. You would only have 540 of it left after approximately 3 years, 2000 through 2002. Now, on the other hand, let's say you had that $1 million was invested in that 50-50 portfolio over the same period, and guess what? You would have been down maybe about $10,000. Not $460,000, 10. And the very next year, it had a very big year, and you were up in the positive range right away. This is why I say, so if I had 3 years worth of income set aside to carry me through that period, right, in an even more stable portfolio, because the 25% equity portfolio actually made money over that 3-year period when the market was down 46%. See how this is working? See why it's so important for you to have this incorporated into your own planning? Again, if you need some help with that, if you're not sure, this would be a great time to get some confidence about what you're doing and get some assurance as to how you're invested and making sure it's done correctly. So again, call my office, 615-376-5325. I will do a comprehensive plan which includes an investment analysis to see how you're invested currently and what that might mean to you in different market scenarios, such as what we've just gone through as an example, or other bear markets, how it would have done over the last 10, 15, 20 years, and then share strategies with you how to improve it for your specific situation, and again, how to develop these income strategies at the same time. So there it is, 615-376-5325, and we get into a lot more than just that in this comprehensive planning. We'll talk about Social Security and Medicare and how to minimize taxes. It's a big one. You know, I just met with a client yesterday. One of the things we did, just sharing a strategy, one strategy alone, is going to save him at least $1,000 a year on his taxes. So well worth the time to get the planning done and learn how these rules can be used to your advantage. There it is, 615-376-5325. And when you call in, we've got people standing by to take your information. Tess will send you out a checklist of things to bring to your appointment with me. And when you come in to see me, I'll also give you a free copy of my book, 7 Steps to Financial Freedom in Retirement. Okay, back to the income piece. So again, systematic withdrawal, most commonly used, and what the weaknesses potentially are there of creating the potential for running out of money, and then ways that you can use that systematic withdrawal strategy though, but hedging it by having a laddering, if you will, of portfolios. So I can have a 25% equity piece for income needs over the next 3 years. I can have a moderate portfolio piece for income needs over going forward, say 4+ years, 4 to 7 years. And then I've got my longer term strategy for 7+ years. So that's one way we can do it. Now another is what's called the income floor. Now here we look at a little different strategy. Now we're talking about a base of income. So we look at things that we have, and this would apply in both, but Social Security, if we have a pension, maybe rental income or other investment income that is coming from not the markets, but from other well, mainly this is probably going to be real estate. So let's stick with that one. That's the easy one. It's the one I see the most of. Rental properties that are bringing in income in addition to Social Security, and again, if you have a pension, you add that in as well. Now, what else can we do? Well, one of the things is we talk about pensions and Social Security. If you think about Social Security and a pension, what do they have in common? Well, basically, they're going to pay you some amount of income over your lifetime, Okay, and in that income, it's for Social Security, you're going to have cost of living adjustments, right? So it's going to go up a little bit to try to stay up with inflation, not quite, but to give you a hedge there. Pensions, most private pensions in particular, do not have cost of living adjustments. They just, whatever you're getting, it doesn't change, which is one of the reasons you're going to need your income from your investments to be able to make up for the inflation effect on those flat pensions. The other is then, they're basically like an annuity. An annuity is another one that you can create yourself. You can invest in an annuity to provide, there are different ways annuities can be used, and I've talked about them a number of times on the show. So different ways that annuities can be used. Sometimes you may just want them to grow in a deferred way, just as any other investment, for growth and systematic withdrawals later, but we're protecting our principal to make that systematic withdrawal work even better. Okay, in other words, what's the concern about the systematic withdrawal? If we're taking it from a portfolio and the market's down and we still need that income, right, we're selling those shares cheap and we have fewer shares when the market turns up, and that makes it tougher to recover from down markets. That's the weakness of a systematic withdrawal from a portfolio that's just invested in stocks and bonds. Now, if I want to hedge that, let's say I take some and I put it into an annuity, and I say, okay, now the annuity, an index annuity, uncapped index annuity, and that annuity is going to give me some income, all right? What it's doing is it's growing. The market turns down. The worst case is it flattens and it just holds still, right? It doesn't go down, but it at least protects my principal. So now if I'm taking income, that makes it a little easier, all right? For one, it's keeping more stable income. So that's one strategy with systematic withdrawals. And I can bounce back and forth between that annuity and my portfolio. All right, my stock and bond portfolio. So this is a way that I can invest in one way for income and the other for growth, and putting those together. Now, this income floor piece, this is where I can use also an annuity to give me a guaranteed income for life. All right, now how could that work? If we think about guaranteed income for life, similar to what Social Security and a pension, how can we use that in an income strategy? Well, I'm going to show how you can put those together. But first, a break. Join me here. I'll be right back on the Retirement Report.